Hey everybody, this is Chad. The fish I am trying to show you is kind of hiding. They're skittish. It's not very happy with the camera being stuck in its face. It's Pygmy Cory. And the Pygmy Cory are one of my favorite fish. Very tiny. They'll get about a half an inch, sometimes 3/4. And they're very friendly. They get along with each other and with other fish without any difficulties at all. They also have an interesting habit. If you have autosynchus in the tank, they'll swim with the autos and the autos will swim with them. It's almost like the autosynchus, which is similar in appearance fish in terms of its gray with a black lateral stripe. Maybe because of that similar in appearance, they get along. And I've noticed that when they're in the presence of the autosynchus, they will swim more boldly instead of hiding like this. So I have two autos in this tank, and if one of them decided it wanted to go hang out with the group would become a little more bold and not hide so much. They're a shoaling fish, which means that they'll come together in need but separate at other times. In a heavily planted tank or a tank with lots of hiding spaces, you may not often see them other than feeding time because they do hide quite a bit. The more you have, the more likely you will be to see them because they will come together and hang out. In terms of shoaling fish, which the difference between a shoaling fish and a schooling fish, will hang out together all the time. Shoaling fish will separate and come back. In terms of shoaling fish, I find that the Pygmy Corys hang out together more often than not. So they're an excellent species if you want to have a group of fish. And a lot of times we'll refer to fish as schooling, even though they're really not schooling fish, they're shoaling fish. So the terms sometimes get used interchangeably. Unfortunately, these are great shoaling fish. You'll get a good, nice grouping with them. They are easy to care for, in my opinion. They are fairly hardy. They do like clean water, of course. And food can be a little tricky. They do like to eat algae, but they also like to eat small crustaceans, like Daphnia, brine shrimp, or mysis. So I always suggest that you feed them some algae. I feed these algae flake, that has meaty fish product in it. It's Formula 2 flake. But I also will occasionally put in some Daphnia for them, and the occasional smaller bloodworm. They really go after those, and that is necessary to do, I would say, once every week or two, to make sure they get that little bit of extra meaty food that they need for their nutrition and the proper health. They are fairly. I've had good experience with them living for a long time, surprisingly so, for several years. Usually smaller fish don't live all that long, but these guys seem to do quite well. And I usually keep a good shoal of them around. There are 10 in this tank right now. And so in terms of stocking, because they're so tiny, because they do tend to stick together, I feel that you can have a group like this in a 10-gallon tank, no problem at all. And I've kept them a number of times over the years, and I've never had any problems with them in a 10-gallon tank. I find that they actually get kind of lost in a bigger tank. If I were to put them in, say, a 29-gallon tank, then I would make sure that I had some open areas and that I had enough of them. You could easily have 15, 20 fish in that size of a tank of that kind, no problem whatsoever. So it's a pretty little fish, interesting swimming behavior, nice to look at. The more you stare at them, the less timid they will become. So it's something that spend a lot of time gazing at them. And they don't cost a whole lot. The problem is, sometimes they do, and it depends on availability. I have seen them as expensive as $9 a fish, and as cheap as $2.99 a fish. What I often will find too is if you buy a group at one time, you get a cheaper price per fish. So anyway, that's all it is for there. Now you also notice some other fish. Those are celestial pearl danio. We'll talk about them in a different video, but I just thought I'd mention who they were since you see them swimming around with the Pygmy Corys. So anyway, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.